Alright guys, continuing on from the last video where I was just talking, I just wanted to let you guys know, just real quick, since I'm standing 2 feet from their house. Let me see if you guys can see this. This is the guinea pig palace over here, which is, I mean seriously, it's a little ridiculous, but I think Joanna loves these guinea pigs more than she does me. So they get pretty much the best of everything, and that's just the way it goes. But here they are. There's Ollie over there sleeping. He's like, "Shut up, you fat bastard." He's over there. And then Elvis is over here. He'll come out. He's always game to get petted and stuff like that. But anyway, that's them, and they're doing great. And not really much more to report there. But like I was saying, my video editing computer has become a point of contention with me. It's causing my blood pressure to raise. Let me get a drink here. Cheers. This is my Scotch Diet Pepsi combination here. The issue with this computer is like I was saying before, it wasn't built to be a video editing computer. It was never meant to be that. It just kind of became that. So I'm going to change the processor from, it's an i5 4T570, and I'm changing it to i7 4790. So changing it to the top of the food chain there, you know, for the processor that my particular motherboard will support. This is the 4th generation Intel processors. You know, they're on the 6th generation. You really can't count the 5th generation though. 5th generation was kind of in between 4th and 6th, so you really can't count it. So I don't know how you feel about it, but it's, you know, basically I'm a generation behind. The difference in performance is pretty minimal between the generations. So I'm not going to replace the motherboard just so I can say I have the latest greatest. So that's just not going to happen. So in order to change this, I don't know how many people are interested in this video. I really don't. I guess we'll find out when we look at the views, and there's almost none. But you know, I haven't really cracked the case on this computer in a very long time. So I'm really surprised at how clean it is in here. I got to get the fans off the cooler, I should say, first. But this is a really good cooler, by the way. This is the Cooler Master, what is it, 212 Evo? Really like it. It's been good. It's performed very well for the money. I'm not running any overclocks or anything like that. I'm probably speaking another language to a lot of you, or most of you by now. Maybe there's someone out there going, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I'm not just talking on my shoes right now. Which, you know, I feel basically happens a lot of the time when it comes to computers. Not many people are into computers at the level that I am. So anyway, got that disconnect. Now, one of my problems in this upgrade, which was really kind of irritating, is that I have 16 meg of RAM in this computer now, but I have 4 gig sticks, but I only have 4 slots. So I had to rebuy all new memory because of that. To go to 32 gig of RAM, I had to buy 4 8 gig sticks. So real bummer on that. I like to put on gloves because I don't like to get that silicone crap on my flanges. I got a little computer kit when I used to go to people's homes and whatnot. I would have this this little kit. It's about all I'd ever need, you know, carry a little bag of tools or what have you, but I didn't really need much else that wasn't in this little kit. I guess the biggest thing this computer is struggling with is actually technically not the 4K video itself. That's not what it's struggling most with. It's with the full length video merges, where I take the the gauges, the GPS info, you know, the speed and the distance and all that stuff, and I superimposed them onto the video, that's where I found that the computer was going, you know, and just falling on its knees because it doesn't have enough processing power. That's very, very CPU intensive, video merging. So I mean, it's worth it for me in the end. It's not a cheap, you know, upgrade even now. But anyway, here's the CPU cooler. Just going to clean off this heatsink grease off of the computer CPU just to get it ready for the next installation if I ever, you know, find something to do with it. Okay, so that's pretty well cleaned off. Now we just got to clean the CPU cooler, which will kind of bring it up here and clean it real quick, make it easy to see. But just get yourself a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and you can kind of just wipe this all off of here, get it back to original specs. Now that I broke the seal, ain't no returning it now. Alright, so inside this box is the CPU and the cooler, the stock cooler, when the stock cooler is not going to be used by me. I don't trust them. They don't, they just don't look like they're substantial enough. I mean, look at that. That's pretty pathetic. I'm definitely not going to use that. I'm trying to figure out how to open this. It's like a damn Rubik's Cube. On here you got, let me see. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to pull this out and it'll come up and it'll pop open like that. Now, on here you'll notice, I don't know if you guys can see that, I don't have the proper cameras for this type of camera work. But right here there's a gold corner, and that matches up to the gold corner on the motherboard, so you know which direction to put the CPU in. But it just goes in there like that. You're just setting it down, lining up that gold dot. Let me get this CPU put away. Really good, brand spanking new. I don't think you'd be able to tell that from a new one right there. So that's a gently used Core i5 is what that is, gently used. Now we're just going to put the clamp back down, and it just goes underneath that screw right there, and you're just going to push it down and lock it in place. That's it. That's all there is to that. Now there's different schools of thought on the next part. I'm going to tell you my school of thought, and then you I'll tell you both schools of thought. How about that? And then you make up your own mind which direction you want to go. But anyway, there's a school of thumb where you take the silicone and you do this. You get it out of the package and you make like a pea-sized thing like that in the middle of the CPU, and then you just put the cooler down on it, and the pressure from the cooler kind of spreads it around. I mean, that's one school of thumb, rule of thumb, school of thumb. That's a school of thumb. I don't like that idea because I like to visually inspect that has occurred uniformly, thinly. This takes very little. It's very less is more kind of thing going on here. You know, it's just a very super thin layer, and I go all one direction. If you can see this, I got it spread and then I just kind of go all one direction with it, you know, like I'm painting a house kind of thing. Never go across grain. And I spread it evenly, as you can see, all across the CPU. That's just the way I prefer to do it. You want to use the P method. You want to use the dab method, where you drop you know, an amount onto the cooler. That's, you know, I'm sure that's perfectly acceptable. There's no right or wrong way on this, but I just feel more comfortable with the way I did it. You dig? You feel me? And then I'm just going to take the CPU, and then when you set this down, you'll kind of feel the cooler kind of gliding around, you know. And that's kind of what you're supposed to feel. So I've got them lined up now. So with that being said, I'm going to crisscross. I'm going to tighten this particular CPU up gradually in a crisscross situation. I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go here over to the next one. We're just kind of crisscrossing back and forth, getting them all started. And then what I need to verify, like I was saying, is that we have got the cooler in that groove. There's a little slot that it fits into, and it won't turn. And you can see, check this out, this is what I'm talking about. See this cooler, if I take it, just barely put any pressure on it, I can't turn it. I can feel, if I give it just a little bit more pressure, I can feel it going click, click, and that's making sure that it's in the groove of the mount. So when I tighten this down fully, this is going to get smashed onto the processor, and it's not going anywhere. It's not going to be moving after that. So I'm going to go a little bit more here. We're just going to keep going. A little more here. And you don't go too tight on these screws. I just kind of snug them up. You know, I'll go to where they're snug, and then that's it. And then I'm going to put the coolers back on, or the fans I should say. I'm going to put the cooler fans back on. Get these lined back up again. Okay guys, I guess that's about it. I don't want to make the video super long or anything, but as you can see, we got the CPU coolers back on, everything's back in place. I just gotta change the memory real quick, put the other fan back on, we'll fire it up for the first time, see what happens. Okay guys, I finished it up, changed out the memory, put the fan back on. All I gotta do now is plug it back in, and hope I didn't let the smoke out of anything. I mean, that's about what it amounts to now. This is always the point in time where you're the most nervous, because these components are very expensive. Hopefully I wasn't too buzzed and I didn't make a mistake. We'll soon find out. I will report back. We're gonna fire it up for the first time, guys. Hopefully we don't let the smoke out of this thing, but we're gonna turn it on and go right into the BIOS, hopefully. Uh-oh. What's happening?